There we go.
We'll jump into the game and see it, you know. And I'm pretty sure, like you said, he's surrounded by a lot of really strong, teammates that can help practice and train, and he's a big thinker himself. So, Canada versus USA, and it looks like the two decks available is going to be Runecraft and Sword versus Dragoncraft and Shadow. We've got a lot of Demon Eaters, but what is the mulligan strategy here for each of the players?
Sure. So at the first start of things, we see that this is a more mid-rangey deck from Underwear, right? We see the 1/4 with Ward, we see Lurching Corpses and Belinus, kind of like a different, maybe mid-range options that you normally see in a Shadow. And his hand looks pretty good. And MS Red's hand, playing D-Shift over here, his hand is good, except it's minus a D-Shift. So Envy, talk to me about what you want to see as a D-Shift player right now against this type of Shadow deck.
All right, yeah. So I mean, we talked about this. We found D-Shift, nice. We talked about this, I think, when we both said we were playing Atomy on ladder.
Right.
You can if you spot Belinus, you're 90% against the Atomy deck. So Red needs to be finding ways to trade to the board. He needs to get followers off the board to make Atomy less onlineable, Atomy less easy to put online.
Yeah,
if that's
less,
a way to
less
say
onlineable. I like that.
Yeah, less
like that.
onlineable. And then he needs to find Fiery Embrace ASAP. If Atomy comes down and you have no Fiery Embrace, you basically have lost the game. So, yeah.
And as
well,
we
Wind
haven't
Blast
seen
can
a
get
lot...
there, but
Yes, Wind Blast can definitely get there. But as we said, we haven't seen Atomy yet. We're super excited to finally get to see it. The reason we haven't seen it in past is because it really hasn't been very consistent, like drawing your Atomies or getting to a late game to where you can actually win the game, all that kind of stuff. All that went out the window with Starforged Legends. You have Staircase to Paradise, which we've seen in a bevy of decks now. And you have Deathly Tyrant to kind of finish off after you've generated, like you said, you've drawn your entire deck, you've generated a bunch of shadows, and now you have a big outlet for your shadows at the end of the game to kind of just force through up to 13 damage, up to 15 with an Evo point.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, bonkers the reach the deck has, and also like an outlier that I don't think gets enough credit really is the I think it's a Peacock and Drelphus, the 2-play.12. If you evolve it into a 2/3, it gives every follower in your hand last words draw a card, and if you pop 4 of those with Atomy, then you just drew 4 cards and played an 8/8.
Right. Exactly.
So
you're
that's
literally just
really good.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And Staircase to Heaven basically just gives you the rest of the fuel you need. Like popping that with Atomy even, unbelievable, because then you're just up another 4 cards the next turn and you're just like going crazy. And if you overdraw, you don't mind that with this deck because it just builds extra shadows to get your Deathly Tyrant out there faster.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, if you love insane amounts of value, Atomy feels like that.
That's right, especially with cards like Haunted House. If you draw Atomies, right? And cards like Haunted House, 1 play point amulet with 3 countdown that says whenever one of your followers dies on your turn, you get a 1/1 Ghost with Storm. Just like lots of early game value. Again, just helps you card draw with Soul Conversion and Demon Eater and still get value after doing so. Very streamlined deck from what it used to be. So I'm sorry I'm gushing over it, but like Atomy's like one of my favorite decks right now, and I love it.
It's pretty fun to play. You know, I thought that it would feel very high rolly. It would feel very, this could just not happen most of the time. But when you play Demon Eater, Soul Conversion, and Drelphus, you play so many cycling cards. It honestly does happen pretty often that you get this. I mean, you have to draw Atomy, of course, but you do get them pretty often.
So let's talk about Red for a moment. So he's gotten his D-Shift. He has a lot of answers, actually, to this board with his Angelic Snipe, Wind Blast, all that kind of stuff. And he definitely has his Wind Blast big enough to be able to deal with an Atomy if it does come out anytime soon. Realistically, it's just about, is that Deathly Tyrant going to be lethal fast enough to kind of take over this game? Because we see Underwear didn't really get a lot of his card draw options. He doesn't have Atomy. He doesn't have, basically any filter cards right now. So he's kind of stuck.
Ooh, we drew a Ceridwen as well. That's more of a useful card once Atomy has come down and died. But right. Yeah, Underwear's hand is just absolutely abysmal. He's doing all the opposite things of what we were saying the strengths of Atomy were. He's just not drawing any card draw.
Right, no card draw, no Atomy, so he's kind of just sitting here with little tiny follower aggro. Expending the Deathly Tyrant now. Feels like he's not going to get to the 20 shadows. I don't mind this play at all.
Right. I mean, D-Shift is coming up on 6 play points. This D-Shift is also interestingly teched. I mean, Angelic Snipe is something we used to play in D-Shift, but not really anymore. And on top of Golem Assault and normal Chimera, you know, Red doesn't like followers being on board, clearly.
Right. And that makes sense, especially in this meta. If you're going to play D-Shift in this meta, you got to have answers to even stuff like Quick Bladers on the early turns. Otherwise, they're just going to deal too much damage to you over time.
Quick Bladers, even I think Palace Fencer, the 2-1 that buffs a follower when it enters. Demon Eater finally finds some card draw, but that's a little bit too late, man.
It is. This is rough because you want to Evo this to clear board, but you also need to draw cards, so.
Exactly.
All right, here we go.
Now we're cooking. We're also building shadows, so.
That's right. Very important, because if that number gets to 20, another Deathly Tyrant can end the game.
Finds a staircase, although at this point I think you just kind of want to play staircase for the full enhance of 5.
Right, and I think just soul converting into something more relevant, building more shadows. Slightly better here.
You do have to consider, though, if you soul convert this turn, go to 16 shadows, play the staircase for the full 5 next turn. You don't get the minions, or the followers immediately. He's actually going to opt to play staircase now.
Interesting. Okay, so realistically, that's just saying staircase isn't really going to do anything for a while, but I want to get value out of my followers. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So this is a question now that, because you're a D-Shift player, and I know we talked about this last season, but the Chimera in D-Shift, how does it feel to you? Do you play it? Why do you play it? That kind of stuff. Talk to us about that.
Oh, I cut that thing a long time. I hate regular Chimera in Dimension Shift. I think it's honestly quite bad. I can see the justification. Atomy drawn finally. I can see the justification for it in this meta with aggro and stuff. You know, sometimes it's effectively a Fiery Embrace, sometimes, but not really. It doesn't really kill Prime Jack Keeper. Yeah, I don't prefer it, honestly. Red, however, he's getting really close to lethal. I think he's basically just got it next turn. Trail of Light into, yeah. He's got, no, he only has 2 Chimeras and double shifts.
2 Chimeras, yep. Unfortunately, not as big as Flame Destroyers. There's a Flame Destroyer.
Speak of the devil.
But still costs 10, so that's not coming down anytime soon. So realistically, I feel like Underwear has a good shot here, only because if he can top deck that Deathly Tyrant.
Yeah, he's got one more turn to find it.
Yeah.
Magic Missile. Although if Red actually bounces that staircase.
That's true. Bouncing the staircase is huge.
Okay.
Oh, is going for it. Is also playing the Giant Chimera.
Yeah, he's got both Chimeras.
I'm sorry, I said Deathly Tyrant off the top would win. Of course, only 15 shadows, not completely lethal, so it would take 2 turns. But yeah, it's looking like Red knows he's got it.
Yeah. He boosted the Flame Destroyer with that Sorcery Cache. I don't think he had it before that Sorcery Cache, actually. I wasn't paying attention to the cost of the actual Flame Destroyer, but Giant Chimera, solid 6 damage.
That's right. We get to see the nice animation with a nice little overkill from Red here, as D-Shifts are wont to do. D-Shift players and Roach players, I gotta say, are basically 2 of the types of players that will just play out their entire hand, whether they win or lose, just because they can.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Because it feels
especially if you're against like an aggro deck. Oh, yeah. And you're like 1 life, right? Oh, my gosh. Yes. I am going to make that Giant Chimera and put you to -27. You best believe it.
You tried to kill me. You almost got there. You thought you got there, but not quite.
So it'll be interesting to see if Underwear re-opts to play Atomy Shadow. Just give it a... Okay, it doesn't.
Against Sword, I think this is a nice little swap just to try to get a win under your belt and then go back to Atomy, because Atomy can realistically win against any deck. It's just highly dependent on its draw. Whereas I think a PDK deck has a pretty good shot against a Sword deck.
I think PDK's got a good shot against everything.
That's really fair. I mean, that's why we see most players playing it.
Yeah, it's why everybody has it.
It makes it really hard at the beginning of the season too, because Sword's really strong. So is PDK. We've talked about him a bunch. It's really hard to pick which one you're going to ban out. And I really feel like it lends to the players that actually build their full lineup to just be good in that environment, right? I mean, obviously that seems a little arbitrary to say, but it really matters here in these first weeks.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like akin to the old days when almost every player had Dragon Shadow, so you kind of had to build your Dragon Shadows to be Dragon Shadows, except now there's a ban, so you can ban Dragon or Sword and then build your lineup to attack the other one that you are planning not to ban, so.
Right. And I feel like Sword still to me seems like this huge wild card that I just don't want to play against with any deck.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just so much damage, you know what I mean? We've talked about it. You've seen pretty much every iteration between today and yesterday already, just with, you know, Council of Card Knights, you know, Round Table Assembly, Juliets, Quick Bladers, you know, Novice Troopers, like every single thing you can just throw at your opponent's face. It's absolutely insane.
Sword has a very little downtime. Almost everything they play is online immediately, and that is really scary. Very, very scary. If you were playing in tournaments, which you would ban Sword 100% over Dragon?
Unless I could find a particular lineup that could just crush Sword, then yes, but I don't know if it's possible to realistically beat a deck that can beat you by turn 5 or turn 6, realistically with 3 different decks, right? So I think I would ban Sword pretty much all of the time right now. Even though PDK is strong, it's much easier to beat.
Yep, I agree completely. I think Prime Dragon Keeper is a it's not the prime example of a fair deck, but it's the prime example of a strong deck that you can beat for sure.
Right.
Sword
if you can
just
clear
randomly
boards and you can present a ward here or there to block out a good Forte turn and, you know, or a good Zeus turn, depending on what they're playing. I really feel like you can play around PDK. I mean, obviously they're going to have one good turn, right? Especially if they have like a double PDK on like 8 or 9. They're like PDK, follower. But if you can wipe the board...
Let's not try and trigger the viewers here.
Right.
PDK, follower.
Right, exactly. But Fortes and Genesis Dragons or Zeuses is really all the deck has is gas after the PDKs are gone. The rest of their deck is just, you know, small followers. So deal with the PDKs, you have a pretty good shot.
Exactly. Whereas Aggro Sword, on the other hand, you know, they have a lot of gas. They're pretty much gassed on deck, as far as like you know, Council of Card Knights and Round Table can go. So, yeah.
So I like this play here. This essentially gets Underwear up to the overflow that he needs. It allows him to play his Ivory Dragon with PDK value, clear out this entire board, and this is kind of where we're going to see PDK start to shift the match if it can. However, we see in Red's hand a lot of value.
He does, but I mean, you know, Underwear can he can play that Dragoon Scyther and take care of the same board.
He's got to find time to win pretty much right now, because this Novice Trooper is already lethal next turn.
That is true. Yeah, that is true, yeah. I mean, he can Draconic Fervor into Scyther.
Yes, he has to Fervor here.
To clear the board. That does clear the board, right? Yeah. With PDK? Yeah, he can do it.
Okay, so he knows.
A second PDK. PDK triggers that.
Now the question here is, do you take the gamble by playing the Scyther first, or do you opt for a more value-oriented play?
Taking a gamble at 7 life? I don't know.
I mean, the gamble realistically makes your resources a lot better, because then basically you're building up for a Forte combo next turn with Erd now that he has it.
Right.
But if you don't, then you're losing some damage this turn, maybe not being able to get to lethal next turn. So this is a very important decision for Underwear right here.
It is, yeah. I mean, he's playing this very safe, yeah. It's also not possible for Sword to do 7 with 6 play points. There's no combination, I don't think, that does that for 6 play points. So, oh, never mind. Round Table pulling double Juliet Evolved Quick Blader would do it, but he can't do that. So yeah, like Underwear can take a calculated risk here and know that he won't die probably. So
the thing though that I'm thinking of is not dying for a turn is good, but being able to set up lethal very important right now, and I don't think he gave himself an outlet to do that.
Well, I mean, he can just set up Fervor again, you know, and then just summon Dragoon Scyther. He can keep playing defensively and just whittle him down instead of setting up a lethal.
That's true.
You know, if he doesn't feel safe.
The closer it gets to turn 9, though, we always know that Albert's right off the top. So if he plays defensively
Albert's only
for just a little
6
bit too
though.
long,
His Evolves are gone now, so
that's true.
Only
that's
6.
True. Only
He'll be
6.
7 here. Yeah, only 6. Although Ephemera and Novice Trooper coming down next turn. It's not going to matter now.
What a wonderful draw. Sybil's a great draw here. Doesn't
Sybil
need to play it.
Your Majesty.
Might opt not to, just in favor of clearing the board, as a matter of fact.
Well, if
Because
he
7
plays
life
Sybil,
is
he
pretty
just takes
healthy
3
right here.
anyway. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
Care to touch?
So decides to go for a little bit of gamble here first.
Care to touch?
Wins the gamble? Not wins the gamble.
No, he
All
doesn't. No, he doesn't. He
Wanted to
fails
kill the Bane, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
50-50 there.
Your Majesty.
Dear little one, it's mealtime.
It's funny too, because I made mention of it yesterday, but when I was looking at the card set before the sec out released, Dragon, what's the rest of her name? Dragon Rearer Matilda, I thought was never going to be a playable card. I'm like, why would you not just play Fire Lizard instead? And then all of a sudden, Prime Dragon Keeper came around and it's like, duh.
Because she triggers
Duh.
PDK twice. Duh.
Twice. Hello.
Duh.
Oh my goodness. And we can see Council of Card Knights really doing a lot of work, like more work than a single card should be able to do, and that's why it's so good.
It's definitely a very powerful card, but unfortunately for Red, double PDK is just going to be too much for him.
The correct playing of Fervor on several turns in a row basically just kept Underwear just healthy enough not to die to the aggro that Red can present. So even it up here. I like Underwear's play this game.
Definitely playing against Sword, for the past forever. This is like Storm has been Sword's plan forever, so you kind of know their thresholds of damage. Like like the upper bounds of what they could possibly do to you with an evolve. So I really like the skirting of the health there. It was really well played.
Yes, it was. As long as and that's actually a really big note for new viewers out there. If you're playing against Sword, learn what their damage dealers are on each consecutive turn, because like Envy said, their game plan's pretty straightforward. So if you know how much damage they can deal to you on a given turn, you can play around it if you have some life gain in your deck, which we saw Underwear do to a T. So very good.
Which you probably should have in your deck with the aggro ladder. So
sure, exactly. Life gain right now is more important than
Atomy. Oh boy.
Come on, high rolls.
That's a terrible hand.
All right, pulling the roulette wheel. I mean, pulling the slot wheel. Let's go. Come on, throw it back. Let's see something better. Ooh, okay.
That's better.
Okay, could be good.
He gets a Skull Beast here. It's whatever.
Definitely wants to find some 1-drops.
Yeah, Red on the other hand he's got the hand. He's got it going on.
He's got the Gasolina, yeah.
Yeah.
Peregrine, not what you want to see this early.
No, she's not something you want to see.
Interesting to play the Lurching Corpse first here instead of the Andriolphus. It's not going to matter much because next turn's kind of going to play out the same, except he's not going to be able to attack with that Lurching Corpse where he could have with the Andriolphus. And mitigating as much damage as you possibly can against these Sword decks is pretty high priority.
Finds a Skull Beast and a second Corpse.
So this essentially is allowing for an extra 2 damage that didn't need to be there this turn. Essentially, last turn if Andriolphus was played, it could have attacked into the Palace Fence or Lurching Corpse freshly played with a Soul Conversion to finish off the board. So let's see if this
would have been at
extra
3 play points.
Yep. See if this extra 2 damage matters. It usually does, but hopefully it doesn't lose that.
Oh, Bone Chimera, but he already used his not wasted, but he already played his Soul Conversion, which is very good at popping those.
That's right, and this cannot present a board. And for those of you who don't know, Atomy is a 9-cost 8/8. The reason why the deck is built around it is because if you have 4 other followers in play already, it costs 0. And then when it comes into play, it will destroy every other thing that you have in play, amulets and followers included. All of their last words go off and all that crazy stuff. So, but you have to get to a board of 4 followers or 4 amulets.
Yikes. And it's probably not going to matter since Red knows what Underwear's plan is. And Red has the board. And actually triggered Perseus. I don't think I've ever seen a Perseus trigger.
The first time I've seen that so far.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Very nice defensive option because if there wasn't something like a Soul Squasher in hand, very hard to get around.
Well,
nice
we can Soul Squasher. He can trigger Atomy this turn.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. It will also spawn the skeletons from the Chimera. Okay, going with the extra value play. I like this. Trying to clear as much of the board as he can.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know you're getting hit in the face by Albert next turn, so.
Yeah. You're hoping not, but you're thinking they probably have it.
0 play point 88. Extremely awesome.
Yes. And now with 10-10 after Evo. So the cool thing about Atomy is, even though it looks like it's losing for a while, a 10 power follower ends the game pretty quickly if you can play defensively around the next couple turns. And honestly, it can trade really well too. It just sits there in some big trades.
Oh my gosh,
Ooh.
that was disgusting.
Won't be long now.
Red whipped that top deck on him forward.
Yes. And he didn't even waste a second after he drew it. Not a second went by, flipped.
Aw. A second Atomy.
And unfortunately, there's not 19 damage that Underwear has access to, so Red, again, showing what Sword can do. Just unbelievable deck, and this is why I would ban it. Like, it's just so powerful right now.
Yeah, I mean, you never summon if you never summon a ward, it just keeps hitting you in the face, and, you know,
Right?
20 life is not a lot. So.
Now, I will say that new Mid Shadow, and honestly, yesterday with Best Marmot's deck, that Mid Shadow deck that he built, I played that on the ladder this morning and last night. Very good against Sword. Very good against Sword. Just having access to wards in your deck with the new card from Starforged Legends, it adds a new dimension to the deck. It gives you so much extra value. Saris, of course, as well. Just so many things you can be doing.
Excellent work. I'm coming to you.
And he's trying. He's definitely trying his hardest.
Yep. Final Atomy wipes out the
That's
board.
how it's done.
Hoping no
So
Albert,
that's
please.
how it's done. Red with the BM over here. And Albert.
Novice Trooper lethal too, so just had it even if he didn't have it.
A little blood won't stop me.
多少の手応えはあった。
What a win.
There it is. Mana Surge's Red will continue on the winner's end of the bracket and defeat Underwear. That's not the last we've seen of him yet. Underwear will go down to the loser's bracket. And this is important because now we have a team kill in the upper finals. We have Icy Stars versus Red. So we'll see whose lineup is a little bit better. And what's interesting is Icy Stars actually prides himself on being a Swordcraft player.